I'm Matthew Willcox and I'm the Executive Director of the Draftfcb Institute of Decision Making. So we set up the Institute about 2 years ago to bring the learnings of behavioural and neurosciences about how humans make decisions to the work that we do for clients. And this is driven by the fact that, kind of over the last 20 years or so, there's been huge advances in understanding how people make decisions and how their intuitions actually sort of work within that. And we think it's kind of, it's well known that this drives a lot of consumer decision making, but it's something really that marketers and agencies have under-indexed on until quite recently. Really kind of the work in the field that's known as behavioural economics or behavioural sciences, which kind of is part of judgment and decision making, has really sort of by conducting ingenious experiments into sort of giving people choices and seeing why those choices deviate from what you might expect them to make, has shown that we are much less rational than we are. There's another element which is emerging, which is what happens when you can bring the technology of neuroimaging to that. So what you can actually understand, so really sort of behavioural economics has helped us understand cognitive mechanisms and cognitive biases, and neuroimaging, particularly through fMRI, enables us to see what aspects of the brain are being activated when people make decisions and how those biases or heuristics kind of kick in. I think everything is important, but I think the gut is the thing. Is really the thing that we haven't paid enough attention to, and actually is incredibly important in. Has a huge role in most decisions, and that's because we are essentially driven by our intuitions. Most of the decisions we make are based on evolved capacities called heuristics. A heuristic is our ability, it's a cognitive process that allows us to ignore information. This is really interesting. So really we have become the species we have, not by looking at information and absorbing it all, but actually by working out which information to ignore. Gerd Gigerenzer, who writes about this a lot, actually sort of says that we should be known as not as Homo sapiens or the knowing man, but we should be known as Homo heuristicus, the man who kind of basically works out what to leave out. So I think this is really important because it kind of goes deep into our, it is not something we've learned, it is not a cultural thing, it is something which is deep within our sort of, our ancestry, our history as a species. And so these heuristics have evolved over 5 million years of homid brain development. And I think you discount them at your peril. I mean, they account for so many things. If you take a rational approach to decision making, or just think about what do we expect people to do, very often they will not do it. And more often than not, the reason they will not do it is because of these evolved capacities called heuristics and the cognitive biases that come out of them.